so this is the first in my series of videos. This is the long version. This is the version where I'm trying to explain to you why I do particular poses or do particular poses in particular sequences. I'm going to start with my warm-up sequence, which if you've taken one of my classes, you've probably experienced this. The goal, the idea here is to warm the body up, get the body ready for the stretching, and to start with the core and move out. I've been in yoga classes where we've started by warming up the wrists, which just didn't work for me. I want to get the core warm, and then we can start to move on to stretching. Especially important when you're doing the morning classes. I think it was a little bit stiffer there, a little bit more cold, if you will, especially on days like today. So number one friend in yoga that I can never convince anybody of, but I'm going to try again, the block. So as we have tight hips, most of us have tight hips, we sit here like this and our knees are way up in the air and the hips are down here. It's a sign that the hips are just not open enough yet. These joints really big, solid, powerful, hard to get to stretch. These joints, a little weak, weedy, and actually not even supposed to turn in the direction that they end up getting pushed in. So the block is your friend here. I'm going to start in a cross-legged seated position. I'm going to demo from the side here. If I sit cross-legged here and try to to get nice and upright, I end up with a kind of what I call a computer back, curved over like this. Now, insert a block, give myself a little bit of elevation here. Knees are now lower than the hips. My back can now come into a nice alignment. The bones can do a bunch of the work of holding me upright, and I can bring the hands into prayer position and close my eyes here. And be here relaxed as I take that series of long, slow breaths to just focus and center the self. So when I take the long, slow breaths, that's really to sort of bring you in from the outside world into the session, if you will. It's a chance to just sort of like tell yourself, you know, I'll put the iPhone aside. I'm ready to do some yoga. And the long, slow breath is to try and build up a rhythm for the breath for the rest of the class. So I start with the spine. If you as we open the eyes and start the movement, I start with the big piece here, the spine. Bringing the spine, sort of flexing it forward and flexing it back, and using the breath even more here, pulling the belly button in to push more air out, try to really get that spine going. So we take a few iterations back and forth here, and then I like to try and start to just sort of free up some of these neck muscles. You've got a lot of neck muscles here, and they're very easy to just sort of tweak one. So let's try and warm those up early on in the session. If you put one hand palm down and sit on that hand, way easier to do if you're on a block, by the way. This sort of stabilizes this whole side of the body, so that as I let my head fall in that direction, I can stretch these neck muscles. So this hand just comes across the chest. The fingers are on the collarbone, really is a reminder. I want to try and fill the whole body up with air here, with breath, as I take this pose. I'm letting the head fall away from that hand now. I'm feeling a nice stretch in these neck muscles. I can move the head here a little bit, find even a few more neck muscles to warm up. So bringing that the head up right now. If I take this arm out to the side, obviously freeing up this hand, I can put a little bend in this elbow. Now I'm trying to stretch all the way down this side. I'm taking the spine in a little bit of a curve here, but I'm trying to stretch all the way down this side of the body now. Open up this side of the, warm up this side of the body. I'm looking out under the armpit here. I'm trying to find a big stretch all the way down this side. I'm trying to find breath into this rib cage, right here. If I can find a long stretch first and then breathe into that ribcage, I can feel that ribcage expanding. With some breath here. And then we bring ourselves up, and obviously we do all that on the other side. That's all nice and good. So then we get back to the point where I usually ask people to open the chest wide and keep this open expansion. Keeping this open expansion, you can only do that if you tighten the core muscles. You start to tighten the tummy muscles, and feel what that core is. It's a little Uddiyana Bandha pushing the air up into the rib cage, if you will. So as you bring the hands and head back to neutral, you're starting to tighten the tummy muscles, starting to warm up the abs. Inhale now, reach up with the hands and look up. And just exhale, a forward fold. And this, from a teacher's point of view, tells me a lot about what's going on in the class, because it's hard to do a forward fold out over these knees if you have really tight hips. It's even more obvious than when people are sat down. So that's actually a nice clue for me as to the sort of level of the class, the abilities in the class, and if somebody's sort of trying to push themselves a little too hard. So from there, we keep on working on the spine. We're trying to get the core warm, and then move on to the rest. So hands and knees. We're on hands and knees here. The one direction we haven't taken the spine so far is in the twist. So with the hand palm up, if you reach through, I call this one sort of the lost remote control pose. You can imagine you've lost the remote control. It's under the sofa. You reach back for it. If this shoulder is on the ground, then you can push into the ground and open up this twist a little more. You can reach forward and look out under that armpit. You can even take this hand behind you to help open that thigh a little bit more. Open the twist a little bit more, excuse me. That's not as far as you can go in this pose. You can actually take this twist even further, but we're still warming up here, so we're not going to go crazy. From here, I then start to work on the core. Spread the fingers wide, shoulders are over the wrists here, and then step the right foot and the left foot back. There's a straight line here with the body. We want to tighten the ab muscles. People have some problem finding the ab muscles if you don't really know what you're trying to tighten there. What you can do is you can take the right hand, touch the heart on the left side, and then take the left hand, touch the right side on your navel. And then in the diamond that you just marked out, that is all the muscles you can find in there are the muscles you want to tighten in this pose. You tighten all those muscles in the tummy. You can tuck the butt under a little bit, push the heels away from you, and then push down with every finger and thumb. Every muscle's working here in plank pose as we start to warm the core up a little bit more. It's mostly abs, a little bit of back work. So then we drop everything down to the ground, tops of the feet on the ground, and start to work on the back muscles too. Warming up the back muscles, just bringing the shoulders up off the ground initially. And then from here, of course, we're heading towards our first down dog. Spreading the fingers wide. If you sit back over the heels, you'll find a long flat back, which is what you want in your down dog, of course. Curl the toes under, push back. As you lift the knees, you can bend one knee more than the other, but try and keep pushing that weight back towards the thighs, the chest coming back towards the thighs. So you have a nice down dog here. And then I just like to work on the legs a little bit. There's a lot of hamstring work in my classes, because a lot of people have very tight hamstrings, and that leads to back pain. So we start with the hip flexor first. I take a leg up in the air and bring this through, finding the low lunge, knee over the ankle, and sinking the hips down and forward. We're working this sort of back part of the leg, if you will. This is also a good clue when I'm teaching sort of more beginner classes as to people's sort of levels and abilities. Knees that are sort of out over the toes and that kind of thing is kind of a good clue that I need to keep an eye on those folk. You can take this deeper, of course. You can reach out with a hand, you can look up, you can look behind you, you can curl the toe under and put it into a full crescent lunge. But we're kind of working on this back leg. So then we'll switch, maybe come down to the ground and get a little bit more intense with the back muscles, warming those up a little bit more, lifting the arms and the legs up. Back to another down dog, and repeating the same thing on the other side. And then the sort of final stage of the warm up is to just give the hamstrings a little wake up call. They've had a little bit so far, but this is a sort of a bigger wake up call. So we step the back foot forward. Now we're in a forward fold. The hands are on something because we don't want to totally suspend the hamstrings at this point. We want to give them some support so the hands can come to the floor. It can come to that block if you put it to one side, or you can bring the hands to the knees. And the weight comes way forward, almost so you can wiggle your heels. And come halfway up here and drop the shoulders down away from the ears, reaching the crown of the head forward. and still working on these hamstrings. Each of these stages is a little bit of the stages that we'll go through when we do a full sun salutation. So it's kind of like working towards a sun salutation one little bit at a time. Exhale, a forward fold, and then one final inhale all the way up, little Urdhva Hastasana at the top, little mini back bend, and then the hands to heart center. And that's basically the flow that I use in a lot of my classes to just warm up the core, ready for sun salutations, which is the bigger warm up. So hope that was useful.